day 1502. 1502 days since Richard was premeditatedly murdered on Fort Bliss, after being severely and constantly retaliated against for being a whistleblower. And they didn't want people to know that he was a whistleblower. They didn't want our family to know that he was a whistleblower, that they had, I mean, they lied to us so much. Um, they made excuses for his security breach. Um, for the security period, he was under 24-hour security because of his being a whistleblower and the threats he reported, the threats, and and then there was a breach. The security detail failed to show up, and Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room and murdered. And so we have years of evidence, and that evidence we've put into three categories: hard evidence, circumstantial evidence, and irregularities. They are mountains. They're all three of them are mountains, and because of the state of our courts, because of the state of our uh, criminal legal system or judicial system, we have, been very, very patient to gather all of the information ourselves as Team Find Richard Halliday, and report them. We were made the investigators for our son's case in the first place, because of the cover up going on and the lies, and part of that was to delay. Nobody called us. The military did not call us. We had to call them by that time. They had told us that they were declaring Richard a deserter and that they could not help us, that they could just wash their hands of his life, of their obligations, and that we were on our own. And we immediately came together as Team Find Richard Halliday and started social media. We have experience with social media because of um, just our website and things like that. So we put out the social media. Our daughter's Instagram received like 40,000 shares really right away. It scared them. Shares. So within a few days, they decided to put Richard back on the U.S. Army rolls and try to frame a narrative that Richard, they targeted Richard with false allegations because they did that. Sorry, I'm on now. Thank you, Danielle, for coming on. I'm going to explain what has happened today, what's been going on for a few weeks. And, it happened so quick today that, and we were on traveling. So, um, I did that real short little live stream. I didn't do it justice, but I wanted to make sure I got it out real quick that we had made this huge criminal complaint today. But going back to Richard, they had absolutely retaliated against him with weaponizing the system, weaponizing the tools that they had, um, that the leadership had against him to discredit him as a whistleblower, to discredit his complaints. Um, this is a standard operating procedure with the criminals. They they make enough money with the criminal trafficking that they can gather up a group and they can tune the group in a way to respond to things like this, to allegations. And they've perfected, not perfected, I wouldn't say perfected because They make a lot of mistakes, but they absolutely use this same kind of method of harassment, intimidation, impersonation to intercept information, and pile on one crime after the other while they're doing this. They even threaten to get you to not tell on them, or to discredit what you're telling. And Richard is crystal clean, and I don't mean that to demean any other whistleblower. I'm just saying that in Richard's case, they were smearing him so bad to discredit him, and it didn't work. It didn't work, and I thank God for that, because what they do is they'll entrap you. They'll send their sexiest girls or guys or whatever, and they'll, maybe offer you free drinks, or I don't know but they try to entrap you. And of course, they did that to Richard, and they sent him to the magistrate court, the El Paso magistrate uh, criminal law court, or I would say the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court. I think that's the correct title, the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court. And I've said it so many times, and I still, I wish I was, just had a few more. No, I don't want any more years. I don't want any more years of this. This has been such an education. But what is really um, important about this is they unlawfully targeted Richard, and they brought him before this El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court. And, that is illegal. It's an illegal court, we found out. And so we knew something was really wrong. There's the picture that they took of Richard was illegally taken from this court, this jail, clerk's magistrate, the clerk's office there, and it's in the jail. And this magistrate court clerk's office illegally let somebody access Richard's file, and then use a camera to take a picture of the government screen. And they didn't expand the picture of Richard of what they were taking. And so when they captured the screen of the computer, they captured other things in the background. And of course, the date, October 22nd, 2020. And we've been working very hard on getting the answers of who was working that day in the magistrate clerk's office, who accessed Richard's file, who took the screenshot, a camera, photograph of the government desktop screen, or the screen. And, this is several felonies here. Several felonies were committed by this action. And so and this picture has been used to harass us and intimidate us and put out false information, misinformation to the public. And, they're just relentless, and they'll break several felony laws to stop this case from moving forward and being solved, because of course it is intertwined with the Walmart mass shooting case. And of course it's about what Richard was whistleblowing, the criminal trafficking and the fraud and everything. uh, so and their harassment, he felt unsafe, and I absolutely understand, because they've harassed us, and they harassed Glendon Oakley Jr. um, and he's also rest in peace, Glendon Oakley Jr. He was found dead in the barracks room there on Fort Bliss on April 8th, 2020. So we have to stop this criminal network that caused so much destruction. We want, um, a good society, a safe society, a peaceful society, and we have put our trust and our talents and our treasure into the wrong organizations and agencies or the wrong institutions because we have given millions and billions and even trillions for our safety, for our defense, for um, law and order, the defense of the Constitution. And what do we have? We have Richard, a whistleblower soldier, young, right? Super young. Here he is, 20 years old, becoming a whistleblower, and they have an obligation to ensure his safety. All they had to do was move him out of there because they knew because they were part of it, the criminal network. And who am I talking about? I'm talking about the CID, Marlon Soto, and Tavita Newsted. They're part of this criminal network. And of course, FBI, Nieto, Eddie Nieto, um, Jr., he's part of it. His wife, Cynthia Nieto Hernandez, she needs to be looked into because she has a security job. Of course, you have Jules Tuganon Chan, that was before we even knew who he was part of this group harassing us and threatening us and everything. And, mortuary affairs people. And, of course, the DA, usurper of a legitimate, duly elected DA, um, uh, targeting her to also stop the Walmart mass shooting case from going forward and Richard's case. These are very high profile cases, and both of them were magistrated. Okay, both of them were went through the El Paso criminal law magistrate court, and so this is very important for people to understand because thousands of criminal defendants have had their civil rights um, abused, which means what in the world? What's going to happen now? Um, but they absolutely have wrongfully targeted Richard. And let me see if you have any questions. I see it coming up. Thank you, Danielle, for your prayers. You did do it justice. Thank you. Stacy, thank you. It's just not El Paso. The entire military and country has been infiltrated and is so corrupted and compromised. I think compromised is a really good point because through the communications and documents that we have with James Hart and Leilani Hart, it's very clear that they use the VA. Um, to us, that needs to all be investigated. That they will coach uh, who they want, certain soldiers uh, to get benefits, and then, I guess, block others from getting benefits. And then they also, from these documents, um, they misuse the information from our soldiers. They have access to the most private information, um, including health records and everything, and they misuse these records for financial gain. And so, I think that is one of the big ways that they um, compromise certain soldiers that might be desperate, with inflation so high, with the cost of living so high, with debt so high, credit card debt so high, and they and I have to say this because it's all part of it. Um, you know, right now, some credit cards, they'll charge you 30% interest. This is so criminal. This is absolutely criminal. Why why is this allowed to happen? This is the destruction of so many people. They are saddled with this credit card, and uh, and I'm going to tell you, in our investigations, there, in this group especially, there's just about all of them have declared bankruptcy, right? Which is a terrible thing. It just points to, uh, a very undisciplined, unhealthy society. And of course, we're all part of that. I'm not pointing my fingers. I'm saying that we have spent so much money on leadership and security and, all this help, and, we're supposed to be healthy. We're not healthy economically. We're not healthy physically. We're not healthy when it comes to our safety and security. Um, so our children are not safe. We have gangs, infiltrations, and absolutely an invasion that gangs that are wanting to come on our school buses and go into our apartment buildings, and people are afraid. And, it's not like we haven't passed laws and given money for a big bad government to keep us safe and have a great economy. We have given everything. We have given everything, and we've been betrayed. That's what I'm saying. And in this case, it's very serious because these judges that sit on the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court, they know better. They know better. These are the premier law enforcement, right? They know the law of the land. They're supposed to know the Texas Constitution. And yet they have been running illegally, and we've checked it over. We've been working on this for weeks, and it changed in 2015. So they've been illegal. They've been criminals. These judges have been criminals since 2015. And you might not, it took me a while, and so I'm very patient to explain all of this to you. But it is very, very serious. In 2015, the law was amended, and it made the El Paso County Criminal Law Magistrate Court have total jurisdiction. County-wide jurisdiction is the right term. Before then, they didn't. They didn't have county-wide jurisdiction. And so because of that, they could be appointed. But when you get the county-wide jurisdiction, and they handle like I would say high 80s to 90% of all the criminal cases are magistrated. We did confirm that the Walmart mass shooting and Richard were magistrated. Both of them were magistrated, went through this court. And I think there's 8 to 10 of these judges. And we sent a lot of emails out. My husband would know absolutely down to the last one. But it is really important for people to know, when you have that kind of jurisdiction, that the law gives us as people power. It says when the judges get countywide jurisdiction, they need to be approved by the people through an election. And they need to answer to the people through election process. And this is a greater oversight than just an appointment. And it is a restraint from being corrupted or being compromised through appointments. Because you see with Bill Hicks, he's totally compromised. He was appointed during a recess, which means that his record did not need to be looked at. right? There was no oversight, and he has a terrible, terrible record. And so he's a criminal, and he was appointed. Um, and yeah, oh, and and he showed his true colors because before he takes the oath of office, and he knows this because he was a judge, he has to sign his statement of officer saying that I did not take a bribe in this appointment, or even in the election. Before he takes the oath of office, he needed to say, I didn't take a bribe, I'm not bribed. And he didn't do that. And that made his oath of office according to the Texas Constitution. And that's why we have the law. That's why we have a Texas Constitution, to abide by it. You can't just uh, throw it away or even do a smorgasbord with it. It's not like some laws are good now and some laws are good later or whatever and do a smorgasbord. You can't do that. He needed to abide by the Texas Constitution, and he was a judge. He knew that. And so the same thing with these judges. And even Alma Trejo failed us in this because they absolutely knew that they had total jurisdiction. And under the total jurisdiction or countywide jurisdiction, they had to be elected. Well, not one of those judges, to my knowledge, have been elected. They've all been appointed, which really makes it dangerous because then the people of El Paso County are in danger of being judged by compromised and corrupted appointed judges with no oversight. That's the risk. And that's the risk that the Texas Constitution took away by saying if you get a county-wide jurisdiction, those judges need to be held to a higher standard, which means the approval of the people of the county. And that means by election. And the law says it, by election. They have to be elected. And so thousands of criminal defendants, their civil rights have been violated. And the high profile case, the Walmart mass shooting, what this means is it's totally botched. Okay? The case has been totally botched. Now, is that because I'm whistleblowing right now? Because this makes us a whistleblower, right? That case, I want everyone to understand, for 5 years, it didn't come forward because it's been long botched. It's been botched for so long. They didn't even read Patrick Crucius his Miranda rights. They did not bag his hands. He told the law enforcement officer that he's the shooter, and they didn't bag his hands. When you look at that case, there's one botched thing after the next. So this right here is just, do I want to say a cherry on top? No, this is absolutely such a huge violation, but it totally botches the Walmart mass shooting case. And of course, it totally botches the targeting and being brought to the magistrate court. The arrest was, how they arrested Richard was also illegal. And we know that it was a setup. We know it was a frame because we know the police officers, a K-9 cop at the traffic stop at midnight in a parking lot. Um, we know all that. And this is just uh, one more reason um, that the whole thing, what they did to Richard, is proven to be illegal, is to be a violation of his civil rights. And he's not the only one, right? He's not the only one. We're talking about thousands. I think I don't know. They would have to say. But the judges are illegal, and it's going to shake up. We sent a lot of emails out today. It's going to shake up the criminal justice system there in El Paso. All eyes on El Paso, and we really pray that it will help El Paso, because what is going on there right now with a usurper, because that court, um, and I know the judge targeted Yvonne Rosales also. So that it seems to us that they have become um, corrupted, or that they're compromised. And okay, so you can cry that all day long, but the truth of the matter is that they became that way because they're acting totally illegally against the Texas Constitution. And that is something that they can't get away from. That's something they can't. So I don't think they can. Um, Team 5 Richard Halliday doesn't think they can. So this is a huge development. It's a big breaking news. And, you know, will it get us a step closer to getting our son's remains? Yes, because I'll tell you why. The criminal justice system in El Paso is in pieces. And we have to put it together again in order to get the suspects arrested. They need to be arrested. There's enough information, evidence out there to get them arrested and then to question them. And they know where Richard's remains are. And the last time Richard's remains were seen were on Fort Bliss. And they cannot get away with what they have done for 4 years and not give us our son's remains, because what they did is not just disrespect him and betray him while he was alive uh, for their criminal activity and against all the children that they hurt, right? All the other um, all the other crime that they did that hurt El Paso, and far reaching than that. Um, they also disrespected his remains. His remains. And they can't do things like that. We're not going to be a society that flourishes with criminal activity like this. We need to honor human life. We need to honor all life. It's We wouldn't treat our pet dogs like they treated Richard. We would we I hope they don't. And the way they treat children and rip them from their families and do child pornography, and the it's all coming out. There's even a movie, I hear someone let me know that there was another movie, not just The Sound of Freedom, but another new movie that came out about this child trafficking. And uh, you know I just um So we've been working, the point is, we've been working with our faith that if we pursue this, we will see where the legal um, or security breaches, the legal breaches are, because these are lawless people that do such things, right? There's no law in them if they don't care about life. If they can just treat our laws and treat our soldiers, our uniform, our whistleblowers, then what do they do to the children, right? They have no respect for anything. And if they can treat our system, our whole veterans disability system was for disabled veterans. It wasn't to be manipulated and taken advantage of and part of a criminal network use it to rule people and corrupt people and um, compromise people and try to bribe people. That's not what it was meant for. And so, you know, in so many respects, the American people have been so giving, so wonderful, so trustworthy, and we've been betrayed. And we can't tolerate that because we want to be giving and sharing, and we want to treat our service members decently and our disabled veterans absolutely. So we want to progress as a nation and be humane as a nation. But if we lose our humanity um, and let a whistleblower soldier body be chopped up, and who knows what they did to him, we're getting all kinds of reports with acids and incinerators and um, these certain kind of blades, and we have to try to stay calm in all of that news that people are giving to about our beautiful son. Yeah. Um, and we stay focused, because staying focused and not being ruled by our emotions, which is so difficult. Oh my gosh, some days I just lose it. Like the other day with Taylor, that Kurt Taylor, that Major General Kurt Taylor. Um, yeah, some days we just get upset. Okay, whatever. Get back to the focus, get back to focusing so that we can actually make a difference, actually do something against this criminal network that has infiltrated our justice system, our criminal justice system. And we need Yvonne Rosales to know that she's a holdover. She is a holdover candidate. She is the rightful, according to the Texas Constitution, doesn't matter your feelings, doesn't matter my feelings, doesn't matter your whatever party affiliation you are, it does not matter. Under the Texas Constitution, she is the duly elected district attorney. She's the holdover. She is the one that needs to take over the reins and start prosecuting these cases and getting rid of those criminal, prosecuting the criminals. Um, and one of those is Bill Hitt. He's a usurper. He knows he's a usurper. He goes in front of the camera the other day as a usurper. He knows he's a usurper because we've told him and we've reported it widely, widely. Not because we hate him, not because we have an axe to grind, nothing like that. It's because he is a criminal, because he tried to get over on the people of El Paso and to stop the Walmart mass shooting from going forward and exposing who's behind. He, you know, they don't want out that about these brown tip bullets and green tip bullets. They don't want people to know that Nadal Baim, uh, the FBI man that walked into the Walmart mass shooting, uh, sorry, I always say that. I don't mean to say that. That's like another Freudian slip. Um, that walked into the Dollar General store and said that Richard, his case was over with. You could take down the flyers. His remains were found in Mexico. And, they don't want you to know who he really is. They want you to think that he's a nobody. But he is the father in law of Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM. He also is the bidder for Western Frontier Trading, um, selling bullets to the El Paso Police Department. Well, what kind of bullets? It would have to be law enforcement bullets. What kind of bullets are law enforcement bullets? Brown tip bullets and green tip bullets. Now, do I know that for sure? I think the El Paso Police Department could tell us, but an investigation could tell us. And, these judges absolutely could do their duty, and yet they're illegal. They're criminal. Really, not, I didn't call them criminal. The law calls them criminal. If someone is a murderer, they are a criminal. If someone lies to law enforcement and bullies people and harasses people, like Leilani Hart fails to report that a 7-year old was sexually in her master bedroom, that makes her a criminal. I, I'm not calling her a criminal. She's a criminal. It's just the fact of it. And, the other thing I forgot to just mention about Nadal Baim is he's has this connection with the Mercedes uh, car place. Repair. It's a repair place. It's not called Mercedes, but anyway. Um, but what they specialize in is fixing Mercedes and BMWs and Range Rovers, and so he has this connection with Richard before Richard was murdered. They know. They know what happened. And I believe, especially the prime suspects, know where Richard's remains are. And if we don't get the criminal justice system cleaned up, we're not going to have criminal justice. And, I need to honor Richard in that. He was all about criminal justice investigating. And I mean, that was just, he loved it. He loved it. And, I guess that just runs in the family. Truly, true justice. And that means there's a respect for the law. Because I don't know, it seems like our society has given law and law abiding like that's something bad, but it's wonderful. If I can, and I've told people this in Germany when I was a young girl, uh, my Oma lived right above the Fußgänger, which was like the mall, the outside mall area, and I could walk down there, and mothers would have their babies in their prams sitting outside of stores, and they could go in and shop, and they wouldn't even be afraid. They could leave their baby sleeping right there, and they wouldn't even be afraid. It was just safe, secure. And so, that's because uh, laws were obeyed. You don't traffic children. You don't rip children from their mothers, from their uh, from their families, from their home, and traffic them and abuse them. And now we're being told 325, over 300,000 of them are mostly dead, cut short their lives. And we're, told all this stuff that human life is not important. Well, get behind me, Satan. Life is important. Why did they do all that stuff during the COVID hoax if life wasn't important? Everyone knows life is important. That's how they got us to, through this hoax, because people value their own lives. They value their family members' lives. So they're always feeding us, this uh, uh, double narratives that don't make any sense. And, it's we need to make sense out of it. We need to be steadfast and know life is precious. Life is precious. And when you're young, you can rally. You can really rally. And, for them to dismember my son's remains, for them not to lie about it. Look, they've known for a long time. They knew before we even called them that Richard had been murdered. And they just have put us through this hell and not given us our son's remains. And, so, and a big part of that is because the criminal justice system is not doing their job. And a big part of that are the judges. And the judges in this respect in the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court are are sitting there illegally, because when you have county-wide jurisdiction like they do, the Texas Constitution requires, look it up, it's right there, requires them to be elected judges. Elected. So there's a lot of other ramifications, domino effects from uh, from what we uh, complained about today. It was a criminal complaint, um, and we'll see. Let's just pray that it will all be for the good of El Paso. We believe so. That's why we didn't act quick on it. We've had this for weeks, and we've because we knew that it would have a huge effect on the Walmart case, because the Walmart case was magistrated. I think they're going to have to close down the whole case. How do you feel about that? 5 years, millions of dollars, millions. Oh man. Patrick Crucius sitting there for 5 years in isolation, not even a mental health evaluation. How do you feel about that? They just have to shut it down. I think this is, we wrote Joe Spencer. He's the main defense lawyer. We wrote him in this. Um, and I don't have. I think he's a criminal. Um, in the way he's conducted this whole thing with so many, with the DA's office, um, but because it's the right thing to do, because this affects his case, and he, I don't know, he's probably going to not be that. I don't know. Could he be happy um, that the case is totally dropped? maybe. I don't know. He's made, it's a lot of money, millions and millions of dollars to just stall, to show up occasionally. It's a cushy job. Um, you know, that's me from my biased opinion of him because I don't look favorably on him at all. I think he has fallen off of his horse, and he's corrupted. Um, but nonetheless, we added him to the email list to let him know this is very good news for the defense. And yeah, Danielle says, I was wondering if the setup was so that the murderer would get the car back he was selling Richard, because if it was impounded, well, the one that was impounded was Richard's used car Toyota, okay? Um, the whole thing with the Mercedes was this Mercedes had engine problems, and this is what he told us. It had engine problems. He could get it from for cheap. He feels like he could get it fixed and he could sell it for a profit. It would be a good investment. Um, that was the thing with the Mercedes. It wasn't to drive around in. He had a Toyota. So, yeah, everyone needs to be careful who they vote for and what is happening in their own cities. Absolutely. And it's really difficult because there's so many impersonators, right? It's really difficult. We we have yeah, uh, we have really tried hard to I guess you taking that out. Yeah, so we're just trying to focus on doing the right thing. And a city without a criminal justice system is not good. And we know that Bill Hicks is a criminal. And the longer that he's there and nothing is done, the worse it is for El Paso and the worse it is for our military, our service members, and for our son's case, because our son's case will affect the military and the service members. How many service members absolutely know what happened to Richard? They know what happened to him, but they've been also compromised. Because, and how do I know? Because Command Sergeant Major Jerry Jakovitz just shaking so bad, told us that he needed to tell us something. And he couldn't bring it in him to do it. He wanted to, but he couldn't do it. And he sided with the evil side. The suspects that we believe murdered Richard. That's who he sided with. And it's heartbreaking because he's just totally compromised. And, it's like they brought the worst out in a man that could be a really decent man. And I think that they do that to so many of us. They bring the worst out in us. Well, I don't want to pay for leadership like that. I want someone that's going to make me a better person, bring the best out in me. So, that's why I like celebrating that Richard has a totally clean record. And it's going to be even shinier with this news. Um, Now our son is dead. He was murdered. And so we had to weigh, should we put this complaint in? Should we? Yeah, because look at all of the, who knows who else has been set up and is being brought to the magistrate court, and what kind of agenda they have to weaponize the power that they have, the authority that they have against uh, the community in El Paso. And, it's just a lot there because of the Walmart case. We want a investigation into the orchestration of the Walmart case. But the Walmart case is Patrick Crucius. And the federal judge has sentenced him to 1,000 years in prison. Now, that is just, think about, there's no eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. There's no, level playing field. That's the most absurd ruling. But there you have it. That's what he got. That's what he got. And he's going to be in the, unless this just totally botches everything. But I don't know. I think we did talk about it, the federal case, how this will affect the federal case for him, with 1,000 year sentence, right? In the Alcatraz of the Rockies. So, and do not get me wrong, I don't feel sorry for him. Um, I know that uh, there's been a lot of injustice, and I know that he has a severe mental health condition. And in my opinion, and no, it's been confirmed, he's severely autistic, and they don't like to talk about it. Um, I've worked with these children. Of course, he's an adult, but without having a mental health evaluation done, all of it stinks. It all stinks. It stinks for the people of El Paso. It stinks for the criminal defendants. Um, it doesn't stink for these appointed judges, but now I think it does because they're criminals now. And in our book, they're criminals. And that, not because we said so, but because the Texas Constitution said so, and the Texas laws, right? So, thank you so much. Uh, God bless you. Please share this information, and we will keep going. Tomorrow, we'll be here, God willing. And yeah, we really appreciate your support all the way through this. God bless you. Bye bye.